Welcome to episode 2 of the Go Get 'em Agility podcast. I'm your host, Margaret Hughes, with my daughter, Emma Hughes.
Hi, everybody.
Today we are talking about pre-run routines, what you do before you go into the ring with your dog at a trial, or what do you do before your practice if you're in a group class and you're waiting your turn to run. Do you have a pre-run routine? So I often have my students asking me, when do I go to the gate? How do I get ready for a trial? And one of the big things for me is that I have a kind of a scenario that I do with my dogs before I actually take them into the run. And it all starts with the walkthrough. So when the course has been set and I'm allowed to go walk the course, as the course is being built, during that time, I will go and potty my dog. So the course is being built. I'll go and potty my dog, and then I'll go stand ringside and wait for the course builders to finish so that I can immediately go in and walk the course. Once the course has been, I've walked the course, then I immediately go back out to my dog and I offer them water. I offer them water and then a chance to potty. But as I'm walking them on their potty walk, I walk by the exit gate where I know that we're going to come out of the ring, and I put a pile of treats down at that exit gate, and then I walk my dog on their potty walk back to the start gate, so where we're going to enter the trial. And sometimes it's on opposite sides of the building, sometimes it's on the same side, but I will always make sure that I have treats ready for my dog at the exit. And as I'm going back to the start line, if I happen to be passing by my car again, I will offer my dog more water. So knowing that I've got my dog pottied, either pee or poo, knowing which one they're in line for, and they've had plenty of time to get a drink of water and then give a little burp. So sometimes they'll burp up a little bit of water. So I want to make sure that they're not ingesting water and then immediately running. So
that is a Dottie thing.
That is
she coughs up a lot of water sometimes if she runs too hard.
That is definitely how I start my routine of my pre-run ritual. And I will do that not only for a trial, but also for practice. Is there something, Emma, that you do with Dot or with Millie, your retired dog Millie, when you're waiting ringside? So you're standing in line, 4 or 5 dogs to go before you enter the ring. Do you have a routine?
I do. I like to feed them if I'm allowed to. I know sometimes some people, I think bigger events, sometimes they don't like you feeding your dog beforehand, but I've never been told off about it, so I just do it. I'll feed them beforehand. Dottie has this cute little trick where she will put her front 2 feet on my legs. I'll stick my left leg out and she'll put her feet up and I just feed her. There are a few issues with that just because, especially when I was younger, when I was, 6, 7, 8, I didn't really know, I didn't have good time management skills. And so I would either feed her, too many treats and then I wouldn't have any when I got to the gate, or I'd bring too many treats. And so then I'd have these big handfuls of treats right before I'm about to go into the ring. But you learn as, you continue that routine. I've actually gotten really good at it, and I can look at dogs that I know how long they're going to take in the ring, people that I know that are in front of me, and I can tell how many treats I'll need, and I will, bring that amount.
Yeah, and I'll have a stash that's close by that if there's delay of start because something happened with the A-frame or then I'll be able to get back to another treat waiting in the sidelines.
Yeah, and you're allowed to step out of line. You can go in and out as long as you're not, running around too much.
Right. Now, interestingly, with my dog Jinx, who's a border collie, he had, especially early on in his agility career, he had some dog to dog stuff. We had to keep close watch on how close he got to certain dogs, as he would, just kind of get triggered by them, or they would get too close, and just didn't want to interrupt the connection that we had. And so I would actually stay outside of the building up until the dog in front of me went in, and then I would step up to the gate. And so I always let the gate steward know, yes, we're here, but we're outside. I'm watching, I'm paying attention to who I'm after. And so that start line routine always involved being away from all the other competitors if possible. Um, and so he was definitely had to keep his nose facing me and triggering, focusing on me rather than triggering on the other dogs. And I know that you ran him as well. And every once in a while you're like, I need my space, and he needs his space, right?
Poor kid.
Step out
Yeah.
as well.
And it's okay, if that routine changes, because I know now, Jinx, he can sit in line for forever, and
Right.
he's fine now, right? So it's okay if your routine changes. Mine with Dot and Millie has not, probably because I'm a little bit too worried that if I didn't bring treats, I don't know how they would react, and I don't really want to waste a run on that, at least not yet. Maybe one day I will find out what'll happen if I don't bring treats before a run with Dottie.
Did you experiment? Did you experiment
No.
with Dottie and figuring out what worked for her? Or did you just figure something out right off the bat?
I can't really remember. I really don't remember a lot of pre-run stuff. That's not really one of my big focuses, to be honest. I do, yeah, I kind of just knew Dottie's always been really, really good. She's a good girl. So I kind of knew that I wouldn't need to keep her attention too much because she's good like that.
I experimented with my now past Sheltie, Tia. I experimented with her early on, and now this dog would bark. I mean, you knew where I was in the building by this dog barking. And I experimented between allowing her to bark and allowing her to get worked up and excited. And I found out very quickly that, boy, did it bother the other people around me. I got I got some of the nastiest looks when she was in full barking mode. And now for my run, she didn't care. I could let her bark and figure out, get amped, get excited, allow her to bark, and then she'd step to the line and she'd run very nicely with me. So then because I was bothering the other competitors, I experimented with keeping her quiet by constantly reinforcing her at me, and reinforcing her by focusing on me as opposed to barking. And she handled that just as well. So experimenting, it was more for, am I bothering the competitors? But either way, she didn't care. If I didn't feed her and allowed her to bark, or I did feed her and kept her a little more focused, she was good both directions in the ring.
I kind of had the same thing with Millie, well into our agility career. I think Millie was 10, and I didn't really notice her barking, I guess because I live with her, right? So I never really noticed it. And I remember I was standing in line. I didn't have any treats. Millie was fine. Millie was barking. She likes to bark at the dogs running, and nobody had ever said anything about it before, ever. And I remember the person in front of me turned around and said, "Emma, you gotta stop her barking." And I remember being like, "Oh gosh, does she bark?" And I realized, yeah, she does. And so sometimes those comments, you're like, okay, that kind of hurt a little bit. But after that, Millie got fed a ton. And Dottie, I don't know if Dottie would bark. I've never tried it. Dottie always gets fed. So yeah.
Now, is there anything, so forget the dogs, they're doing fine. You don't have to focus on them. Is there anything that you do mentally to get yourself ready for entering the ring? One of the things that I do is as I'm standing there, I'll just refresh myself on which way the course is going. So I won't necessarily pay attention to the person in the ring, because I don't actually know if they're running it correctly, but I will rework it in my head of what, not only where I'm going, but also my handling moves. So do you have anything that you do for you?
This is going to be a very embarrassing answer for me as a seasoned, I'd like to say seasoned, I don't know, 14 years. Every single trial for 14 years, hours of my life waiting at the beginning of rings, I get so nervous that my entire mind goes blank. Every single trial, 14 years later, I get so nervous. I actually get so nervous that I actually have to go to the bathroom beforehand, because otherwise, like, I can feel like myself needing to go to the
I do
bathroom.
as well.
Yeah, and I get so nervous, and so I actually don't go through the course or anything. I just sit there, and I do a lot of I fidget a lot with my hands when I'm nervous. And so I think with feeding Dottie, that's something to do with my hands. And so that's okay. And I just kind of stare ahead and I just move up the line. And there's nothing going on in my head. Absolutely nothing. Just complete
So
pure
you don't look
nervousness.
at the
Nope.
course and rework
Nope.
the
I'm
course.
so nervous all the time.
And does
Like
that,
that lineup of 5 dogs the entire time. I'm like, oh God. Oh my God.
so you don't,
Oh.
do you, when you get into the ring, when you walk into the ring, are the nerves still there, or do they just?
No, everything goes dark. It's kind of weird. I don't see the crowd. I don't hear the crowd. I can hear Dottie growling at me. But other than that, yeah, as soon as I hand my leash off to the leash runner and I say thank you, I always make sure thank you is kind of like the start word of the run. So every time I say thank you, it's like, okay, now you're running.
Nice.
And then all the nerves go away. It's kind of weird. But every single time I get so nervous.
One thing that I do when so I just said this a competitor the other day, I'm like, I still have that guttural feeling as I'm standing there, like, gosh, I want this to go well. And those nerves do hit me. So there are a couple of things that I have done. Number one is I will do math in my head. So I'll do, 4 + 4 is 8. And the answer doesn't have to be right. I just start throwing numbers out there. And maybe that's one of the reasons that I count the course again. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'll do the course in my head, counting the numbers as I go. And so that may be one math thing to put me into a logical state as opposed to an emotional state. So I'll do math in my head. The other thing that I'll do, and I almost always do this out in the parking lot. I don't do this in front of other competitors because I think it might look weird. But I smile really hard for 30 seconds. So I force myself to smile and get those happy endorphins going to, regardless of what goes down in the ring, my brain is triggered to think happy thoughts, or at least I think it does. I've been told it does. So those are two things. I'll either do math to keep me logical, or I will do 30 seconds of smiling to trigger those happy endorphins. But the nervous feeling never goes away.
Yeah, at least not for me.
No.
I have heard from some, I think there's a few top competitors that have said, yeah, I don't get nervous anymore. And I remember being young and thinking, oh, I'll get to that one day, I'll get to that. And I told my coach one day, and she's like, it's okay. It's okay to be nervous. Just don't let it take over. And ever since then, that was about 5 years ago, I think. And ever since then, I've been okay with being nervous. I think it makes me more aware. I found that I tend to leave earlier when I'm nervous, and so I can get blind crosses and I can, get ahead of Dot. And so I think it's okay to be nervous. And I think it's okay to be chill too. If you don't feel nervous at all, that's good too.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely. And I think that if you are nervous, well, even if you're not nervous, even if you're chill, as you say.
I don't know if that's the word, but
No, it's a great word. Even if you're nervous or you're chill, if something goes wrong, don't beat yourself up about it. So this is an important thing taken right from Ted Lasso. be the goldfish, right?
It's
Something
the
goes
happiest animal in
wrong.
the world, Ted. I know he was talking to Sam, wasn't he? He's like, Sam was
That's,
the happiest animal in the world.
be a goldfish. Something goes wrong in your ring, 3 seconds, it's over. Keep going.
Yeah.
And that most definitely is part of my end of game ritual is the minute I walk out of the ring, I may think about what went down, but I definitely don't dwell on it. I'll maybe go back and rewatch a video to see what happened, but I, I am a goldfish through and through when it comes to bad runs.
I think that's something I still need to teach myself just a little bit, because I do tend to I don't say put everything on the line, but sometimes I'll do some things in my runs that I've been practicing, and if she doesn't get it in practice, I'm like, oh really, Dot, come on. But there is always the number one golden rule is don't let the dog know they messed up.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll just like sit there in the practice ring. I'm like, oh man, why didn't we get that? Why didn't we get that? And Dottie is having the time of her life chasing after a bird. And I'm like sat there like, oh man. And Dottie's just could not know. She does not know. She doesn't care. She's like, cool, we just ran.
Yeah.
And so it's always don't let the dog know.
So it's good to be a goldfish on when things don't quite go right.
Yeah, I need to practice that. I really do.
But do not be a goldfish when it comes to have you pooped your dog prior to going in the ring. Those pre-run routines, get in the habit of it. Even if your dog pottied 40 minutes ago, offer them the chance to go potty before going in the ring every single time. And after your run, offer it again.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing a little bit of calculations on pottying and pooping of Dot. I've calculated the last 2 trials that I've been at, and every single time I offered her the chance to go potty, she did. So she pottied 7.
That's a lot.
No, she pottied 7 out of 8 offers.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And then she pooped. I offered her specifically for pooping. I offered her 3 tries. She pooped 4 times in that.
See,
when I didn't think she was going to poop,
I don't know. I don't know about that one. It might be, I think Dottie's like playing a prank on you or something. I don't know.
Last 2 trials. I'm going to start actually writing this down.
Yeah, we have to think about that a little bit more.
I know that exercise stimulates the bladder. I know that sleeping stimulates the bladder, as does eating, and all 3 of those things are happening at a trial.
Yeah, and do remember, if your dog does go in the ring, it's not the end of the world.
It just happened to you.
Oh, yes, it has. But to be fair, poor Jinx had diarrhea. And the judge said to me, I remember the judge said, you're not a real competitor unless your dog's pooped in the ring.
There you go.
That's debatable. But I think the embarrassment alone will be enough to stop anybody from ever wanting to poop in the ring. But if it does happen, it's not the end of the world. I mean, they're not going to like yell at you or anything. They'll just be like, oh man. They'll get some kid like me to go spray the area.
Here's the real downside to pooping and peeing in the ring. This is and as a trainer, as a coach, it really goes through me. It is a domino effect. If one dog pees or one dog poops, every dog for the next 3 hours is going to inspect
especially the dogs that mark
area, especially pee. Poop you can get up pretty dang good, but pee you're not going to get all that dirt out. And so peeing is by far, offer your dogs the chance to pee the second you get to class, the second you get to a trial, before you go in for your run in practice or in a trial, and then again after. Take them for a walk. Tell them they're awesome. Let them go potty.
I agree with that one.
I'll get off my pedestal now.
It's a good one.
That's part of my pre-run routine is your dog, potty your dog.
Yeah.
All right.
Just remember, if it's a complete accident, not a lot you can do.
Absolutely. But, if you offer and
Right.
as
I
long
offered
as
Jinx that one time. He went and then he went again in the ring.
yes,
Maybe he just have like
there are
there's a
always
pattern. I'm sensing a pattern here of a lot of pooping in the Hughes family.
there are always accidents. But the answer when I ask somebody, have you potty your dog? And the answer is, oh yeah, I gave him a shot before we came to class, before you drove to class, and then you didn't offer him again. Try again. Go back out in the parking lot, get your dog pottied.
Yeah, especially newer dogs like Millie. Millie never went. Dottie hasn't either actually, because they're focused enough, I think, on agility that they can do 30 more seconds, right, without having to go.
Right,
But if
they
you've
know
got
the
a
game.
if you've got a newer dog, it doesn't know that much, and they're like, oh,
And they're not used to being off leash, and the second you let them off leash,
right,
potty.
yeah.
That's a problem. That definitely needs to be trained into the routine of agility. Is getting off leash does not equal go potty. All right. Any last comments on your pre-run routine?
I don't think so. All I really have to say is, if you don't have one, that's okay. And if you do, that's great. I know that I specifically sometimes I won't have a pre-run routine just so I don't psych myself out if I can't get to it. If you want to walk around the parking lot like 5 times and you don't get to do that, you don't psych yourself out.
True.
Just always poop, always water, and feed if you
Warm
need
your
to.
puppy up to the best of your ability.
Yes.
All right. Well, this is Go Get 'em Agility podcast. Emma, I appreciate you joining me once again.
Yeah.
And happy training. Woof, woof.
Woof, woof.